you know.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That spotlight. There we go.
You're recording. Great.
We're
Okay,
recording.
well,
and you're spotlighted.
I will reveal what's behind my big fat bald head is that guy. And
Very nice.
Look at that.
I'll get a little closer for scale. So it's about 100 pounds of PLA, PLA plus to be exact. It's about, I stopped counting after 45 kilograms, which is about 100 pounds. So there's a little bit more than that in it, plus the supports, the linear actuators, speed controllers, lights, wiring, everything else. So it's about 110, 115 pounds easily, plus the stand which is kind of hidden behind it. The stand plugs in the back, so it looks like it's floating. But yeah,
that's fabulous.
That's
That's
so
amazing.
let me
done,
start
Michael.
it. I've got two remotes. So one for the head, and it'll eventually control the sounds. It controls the light up on top. The other remote is for the legs, and trying to control 5 of these spidery legs is a pain in the neck. Let me tell you, almost need a third remote. Okay. So currently I've got head rotation. It's got a slip ring, so it'll go around as many times as I want. It's got a control for the light, and there's a dimmer built into the light. But the dimmer's up in the body, so I have to take one of the panels off to reach in to adjust that. Eventually that will be remote controlled. So, because we noticed when we adjusted the dimmer, it actually looks kind of like an iris, the way the iris opened on the original one. So I really like that effect. So I think that's what we're going to go with. So you'll hit the switch and it'll just fade in and fade out, which will look a little bit better, I think, than that. And then for the legs,
Wow.
Michael, do you have any sort of collision detection for the legs, or are they situated in a way where they won't hit each other?
They are, yeah, that was a big issue. So they're oriented in a way where none of the legs can touch each other. And I've also had to reset all the endpoints so that I don't overextend, because I had to use 2 different actuators. The actuators are made by Actuonics in Canada. It was 100 millimeter and 140 millimeter. And I'm using the 35-to-1, which were faster but lower torque. So they're working really hard to achieve this, but I think the speed is nice, you know. We tried the higher torque servos, they're great, but they're very slow. So I opted for this, and I figure if I kill servos, I'll have to have a few spares maybe on hand. But some of these, like this one, I needed even longer than 140. Actuonics was really kind, and they gave me all the information on how these are designed and built. And so I was able to buy 9 millimeter aluminum hollow tubing and then rethread it. It's an 8 millimeter thread on the inside. And so I can make any length tube that I need. And then the body of the actuator was actually square, but I found round aluminum tubing that was a nice snug fit over the top so that they look appropriate to the scale and appearance of the filming model.
God, that's beautiful.
The full size one that this is modeled after, that was shot in Norway, 3 of the legs had steel pipes, steel rods that ran through them, and they went all the way to the base. So there were only 2 arms that were the 2 smaller arms that were kind of free and exposed, but they were never motorized. So this is the first full scale one that's ever had motorized legs. The only one that you actually see move is the miniature that ILM did, that Phil Tippett animated. So it came out of the crater, and as it's moving, he had the legs move just briefly. That's the only time you actually see them.
Tell you what, the film doesn't do this thing justice as to how big it actually is.
I mean, it's massive. I mean, it's you know, I stand next to it. I can't really believe how big it is, and that was all printed. Hundreds of hours of printing.
You look at the film, and you don't get the idea of that scale.
So who
at all? Well, I don't anyway.
Yeah,
who designed this thing? I mean,
yeah, there's an Probe Droid Builders group, and in that group, they posted a lot of behind the scenes photos. And there's a great photo. The body was made out of fiberglass, and this whole upper section was just a lid that was made out of fiberglass. And you see like 4 technicians lifting it that are around it, and you really get the scale in that photo.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you in the movie, you don't realize.
No.
So when someone designs, how do you think they came up with? I mean, we weren't there in the movie set making the stuff. How do you think they came up with the scale and the dimensions for us to print them and make them?
Yeah, I mean, Ralph McQuarrie did the original drawing, and then ILM made the miniature first, and then they made the full scale version, which may have been made in England. I'm not sure. It's a little fuzzy on that information, but yeah, that's the size they stuck with for whatever reason.
That's
And
cool.
yeah,
It's big, very, very big. It's,
So-
I mean, like Tom says, the angles from the movies, there's no point of reference, so you don't really get anybody near it to get the size.
no, and the color as well. So in
yeah.
the movie, everybody assumes it's black, but it's because it's in a white void, and so it looks black. The reference photos of it, the full size one was actually more of a gunmetal gray, and then the miniature is actually much more of a brown and rust color. And so I combined that. So I put a gunmetal gray base coat on it, and then it's a little bit of a rusty, kind of a copper color that I've misted on parts of it to try to. It's sort of a combination of the two.
Well,
Hey, Michael, do you get a bit of back turn when you turn the head? Does it kind of shift the body the other direction when you're
Absolutely,
when
yeah. So I'll have to turn this around real quick. Let me take this apart. The original idea was just to have a single pipe, a curved pipe that plugged into the back, so that it was kind of hard to see and it looked like it was floating. The first time I put this on, the whole thing was shaking and bending and bowing. So I started adding gussets and supports, and I thought we had it solved. And then we put the head on. First time we rotated the head, the body did this, literally like that. So that solution, I've temporarily welded gussets in. Try not to hit the ceiling here.
I saw one of these at Fan Expo in Dallas last year. It's pretty cool. And they had the General
It's
Grievous
based off
too.
of Dave Smook's design, right?
What was that?
It's Dave Smook's design, right? Droid Division.
Sorry, designed it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had to add, these are the most recent braces. So I just keep building upon that and making it stronger and stronger. But this pretty much solved that. But even with that, it's still, this bar plugs in the back. There's a socket I built in, and there's a steel plate that's part of the body now. And I can reverse this whole assembly. So the assembly is pointed down at the ground sitting on this base. I can actually take all of this and rotate it 180 degrees, and I could bolt it, which is my idea for our guest house, is to bolt it into the ceiling. So then you really won't see this at all, and it'll just be hanging there with the legs, floating off the ground.
Is there room?
Yeah.
Is there any room in the top of the body to do like a little bit of counter rotation when you move the head so that the body doesn't spin?
This was only designed when Dave Moog made the model. He made it as a posable statue, so he didn't even have head rotation, in the scheme of things. But you can see the body now. It wiggles a little bit, but it's way stronger than it was before.
Okay.
That head is very heavy. The
Oh,
head
yeah.
is nearly half the
Yeah.
weight of the entire droid is in the head.
Are there battery packs in the head?
No, so I've got a slip ring. I built a slip ring and put it on the inside. And I would show it to you, but I don't have a ladder tall enough in here to get up in to the top of it. I'll have to post some pictures. But yeah, it takes, 2 people to put it all together, as you can imagine. And we all have to have real tall ladders. And I would have had it lower to the ground, but I wanted the legs to have good clearance, because the idea is this platform will eventually be motorized, so I can actually drive it around, which may or may
Ooh.
not be a terrible idea. And I'm building a crater. You know, this is a circular shape for the platform. We're going to build a crater, so it looks like he's floating out of the crater. And this will all be snow back here, maybe.
Will that be ready for celebration?
That's a good question. It better be.
I
I'm
can give you a
committed to
ton of
going,
snow.
so it'll be a celebration one way or the other. So whether it's done or not, I mean, it's impressive even like this. But
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
If those legs
Yeah.
aren't serving us beer by celebration, Mike, I'll be disappointed.
Gotta be, yeah. We
I'm
want it.
gonna have some expert help, maybe in Michael Badley.
Yeah, yeah. But then
Maybe
the
I
week
can fly
before,
him over.
we can sort it out the week before. Everything will be cool.
Yeah,
What,
yeah.
what was,
piece of
what
cake.
was that? What's the hardest part? What was the hardest part of the build on it? What was the bit that really kind of
Wow.
was it the bracing or?
It's you know, I think the hardest part where there were print failures. You know, I've got, well, hold on, I'll show you. I will show you.
We like it. We like a bit of print failure in this group. Makes us feel
Yeah,
human.
this is only a small portion of failed Probe Droid prints, and some of them I did go back and print the other half, but it was difficult. The alignment of these pieces, they fit together like pie pieces, you know,
Yeah.
the way they're segmented. And if I happen to make one like this one, was one that had stopped and restarted, and I printed it, and there's a line right here where I glued them together, and it still wouldn't fit. You know, it just, everything is just, it has to be absolute perfect for this thing to fit together. And, you know, so I've got lots of these door stops. I should auction these off. But yeah, that was my life. It just failed prints. That was the worst part of it, because you'd have a print that was 30 or 40 or 50 hours in, like everybody knows.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating when you come in the next morning and it's just a mess, or, you know, the sensor didn't work. I ran out of filament. That happened more than anything.
Yeah.
And then it's just the sanding. I mean, and I wouldn't say it's hard, but it was just tedious. The amount of sanding on this. It was myself and my son Kyle, and we have hundreds of hours of sanding, because we use poly primer to try to speed that up a little bit. You know, you can apply poly primer and do a light coat, and that worked pretty well, but there's still areas you can't reach, and so then you're using spot putty and different things. And you know, some people now in the club are using a resin, you know, that's UV cured, so you can put a coat of, you know, UV, resin on it and cure it, smooth it out. So yeah, there's no one way to do it, but we were trying to make it as clean as possible and make it look accurate. And I think we're close.
Oh, it's magnificent. It is magnificent. I mean, because I remember the very first time I designed and printed the R2D2 dome, and the kind of the hair stood on end just having it in the house. You know, it's kind of like, oh my God, I've got the dome of R2D2 that I've just 3D printed, because it, you know, it just took you right back. And I think with this one, with Imperial Probe Droid, you must have got that same sort of sense. You must have got that, you know, every time you look at it, you go.
Yeah, when I saw it in the movie theater, you know, instantly, it's only in the movie for a few seconds, really.
Yeah.
And I immediately, I wanted one, but had no idea how to do it, you know, and where to even go. And then here, 41 years later, Dave Moog, you know, in the Droid Division Print Club says, hey, you want to be a beta tester for a probe droid? It was an instant yes. And then when I started looking at the size of the files, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? You know, to made a terrible mistake. After I got into about 30 or 40 rolls of PLA and nowhere close, I was starting to worry a little bit. But
well, I was chatting to Dave about it when he was thinking of doing it, because he'd had all the things, the pit droids and whatever, and he was saying, I'm thinking of doing Imperial Probe Droid. And I went, oh, that's nice. And he said, do you know how big they are? I said, no, well, you know, about so big. And he was like, no. And then when he described the size because he was just blocking it out and cadding it up. When he described the size, my first reaction was, "You're a bloody lunatic." It's 10 foot, 10 foot tall, and that ring. What's the diameter of the body ring on that? It must be 7.
Yeah, this one's well, for my American friends, that's 43 inches across on the body.
Wow.
And the way it stands on this particular stand, the top of the head is at 8 feet, but I still have another 18 inches when I add the antenna lifter. So it'll be over 9 feet tall, the way it is. I mean, obviously, if the feet were touching the ground, it would be, you'd be looking at it eye to eye, but I didn't want the feet that close to the ground. I just,
we're
it
very
photographs
envious.
better with that.
In the UK,
It's
we're
pretty
very
intimidating, and I think it's pretty intimidating the way it is. So
yeah.
Hey, Mike, I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi, John Bush, longtime listener, first time caller.
oh no.
Hey, when your wife divorces you and takes a house, what are you going to do with the probe droid? Can I have it?
I think I can live inside of it like an RV.
Down by the river.
I have parts for you, my friend.
What was
Yeah,
that?
John is a fan of the old Legacy droids, so I've got some parts set
Yeah, I
aside.
love Legacy.
Break out the
Yeah.
band.
I helped move that thing when it was a baby, and that thing's big.
Yeah, we went to your workshop one day with just the body and the head, kind of showing it off. And you don't understand the scale of it till you stand next to it.
No, it's big. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's madness.
But
I think that the
But
problem
that's
we've got in the UK is in the UK we haven't got the same size houses and land that you have in the US. So we have to build smaller things. We certainly couldn't. I wouldn't be able to fit that in my house anywhere, I don't think.
Well, and
for you,
that's
it's your vehicles. The cars in the UK are tiny.
True.
Yeah, minis and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, this
I
one's
I
a
live in
mini.
an old UK house since my neighborhood was built in pre-America era, so I have the small ceilings in the little rooms and everything too. Like I think that's bigger than my office.
Yeah. So very envious.
Yeah, we want to
No,
put it in the guest house. My wife says it can go there, but she said keep it away from our house. So
yeah, I'm cool with that. Just stick it in the guest house. That's good.
yeah. But if it works and I can hang it, I think it'll be kind of cool. So we'll see.
Magnificent. Well, thank you very, very much for taking us on a tour of that. And I guess most of us, well, a few of us here at that celebration will get to see it in real life, which would be amazing.
Yeah, we'll let everybody try their hand at operating the legs.
In
Yeah.
the guest
We'll
house,
see
it's
who
a really
has
nice
skills.
coat hanger. Hold hats,
Yeah.
coats.
Yeah, that could be a coat rack at the entrance. And he'd grab your jacket.
Michael, do you ultimately plan to have a speaker so that the sounds of the transmission will be audible and triggered?
I had a very sympathetic friend at Lucasfilm who gave me all the sounds.
Oh.
And there were a lot more sounds actually than I thought. There are sounds of it when it moves, it makes kind of a little psh sound,
Oh, yeah.
There's a drone when it's idle. There's a different drone when it's flying. There's warning sounds and gun sounds and transmission sounds. And yeah, there's a lot to it. So we're going to add all of that before celebration.
Oh, excellent.
Because it wouldn't be
well
right.
done.
If
No.
you can hear the sound in your head,
Right.
you can't not have it. So
Right. Oh, that's fabulous.
yep.
Beautiful.
And that's it. That's all I got.
Cool. Right. Any final questions before we
No
move
question.
this
Just wanna say
spotlight?
that is amazing. I'm blown away. That's fantastic.
Brilliant. It is. It
Hey,
is.
Mike. Hey,
No
Mike.
What do you do
questions.
for an encore? What do you do for an encore, Michael?
You know what? Dave Moog actually, as a thank you, sent me files for a K2. If you've seen the recent episodes of Book of Boba Fett, you'll understand why. So I'm building a K2SO next.
Fantastic.
Because I'm stupid.
Oh,
So
you gotta have a
I-
K2.
I've had a K2 since Rogue One came out. I just passed it on to another member about 2 weeks before that Book of Boba Fett episode aired.
Oh,
And then I was like, hey, can I have K2 back? He's like, nope, it's mine now.
that was a great scene.
Brilliant. Well, the whole thing's been fantastic up to now.
Have you guys all seen the latest one that came out on Wednesday?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Well, I don't know at the moment, so we probably.
I think we should assume that spoilers are off limits.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
not everyone has had the time, so I
And
think
some
that
people
would
already
probably be.
binge it.
Yep. So I think spoilers are off limits.
Yeah, I have to finish watching.
Sorry, Michael,
Mandalorian.
didn't mean to jump right in like that, but
I mean, Disney's been posting them officially already, so